call on Dr. Peter Piahini and Hajia Salima Ahmed Tijani to do the honorable thing and resign.
That's the call of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, as to whether these persons that they are demanding to do the honorable thing to resign will actually do so. The coming days will definitely reveal that. And as to whether President Akufo-Addo would also heed to calls about the impact of these politically exposed persons on the neutrality and credibility of the Electoral Commission, would wait to hear. But this is one issue that is of key concern to you, the Ghanaian people, and that's exactly what we will do here on Key Point on TV3. Well, the chair of the New Patriotic Party has described as propaganda the position by the NDC that the economy is in tatters and all is not well. What's happened is that Stephen Ntim says the president has managed the economy well, and thus no lies will win the NDC the 2024 elections. What is your verdict about the state of the economy, the state of your personal economy? We'll talk about it this morning here on Key Point. Now, speakers at TV3 and ASEP, that is Imani as well, collaborated to have a conversation about the state of affairs with respect to leadership in this country. Can we, as citizens and followers, also be blamed for not being vocal enough about the state of affairs and reason why leadership can get away with some things? We will talk about it this morning here on Key Point. Also, the impact of the approved 3 revenue bills, business community, and indeed you, the consumers, have all been talking about it. We would get into that here on Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also live across the world on 3news.com and TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279. I am Alfred Okanse. Good morning and welcome to Key Point here on TV3. We'll go for this quick break. When we're back, I'll introduce my guest who are already seated. We'll have a conversation. Stay with us.
Fall and they rise. Make you no worry about the things you know we change, the things you know we do today. You go do them tomorrow.
Wow, this girl's got talent. You too can change your world, and it's affordable with Airtel Tigo data bundles.
Bring your dreams to life with the best data bundles only on Airtel Tigo. Dial *111# now.
Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
Welcome to Lakeside Hills, a gated community which offers a peaceful and serene living experience. Today, we are going to be touring a beautiful 2-bedroom standard house measuring 85 square meters. As we enter the house, we are greeted by a cozy living room that is perfect for entertaining your guests and relaxing after a long day's work. The large windows allow plenty of natural lights to flood in, illuminating the space and making it feel inviting. The first bedroom is cute and adorable, perfect for young couples and growing families. The second bedroom is connected to its very own bathroom, providing the perfect setting for guests or anyone that values their privacy. The kitchen has been designed to be both functional and stylish. The modern appliances and the classy cabinet make it perfect for the home chef or anyone who enjoys cooking. The house also features a compound that can comfortably park 2 cars, and it's also partly powered by an AC solar system. If you're looking for a peaceful and a serene living experience in a gated community with so many amenities, then Lakeside Hills is the place for you.
Celebrate this month of Easter with Melcom and save more on your CDs always when you shop on items ranging from groceries, electronics, homeware, kitchenware, furniture, home decor, and many more. Terms and conditions apply. Melcom, where Ghana shops.
When it comes to the world of sports, what does complete mean to you?
When my team scores at the end of a 30-plus passing sequence, just like Pep Guardiola style.
When someone beats the buzzer with a shot from the logo, like Steph Curry.
Dominating opponents and punching my waist to a knockout, like Africa's greatest boxer, Azuma Nelson.
Running so fast I can afford to celebrate midway through a 100-meter race and smash the world record like Usain Bolt.
Hold up. What makes all of these sports complete is the screen. This is where you get access to all the extensive highlights, analysis, and insights. So do join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. live on 2FM 92.7 as we serve you the best sports buffet and most satisfying in the sports world. The 3 sports team will come together to review, preview, and analyze the latest in the sports world here on Sports Ultras.
Dance routines and unmatched energy. Are you ready? Put your hand in the air like you really don't care. To the left, to the right. You can't miss this one, indeed. You can't at all.
Personally, I go deal with you.
Just tune in to TV3, 8 p.m. this Saturday. It's only Big Old Family Dance. Big up your moves. Like it.
Big Old Family Dance shows Saturdays at 8 p.m. on TV3. Brought to you by Big Old Drinks.
Welcome to the all-new Today's Woman. This week, we get to celebrate Nana Esi Edem, who is our Star Woman of the Week. Joyce Bawa Mokhtari is our winning Woman of the Week. What's your favorite food?
Oh, I love curry.
Ha!
Yes, but women must try very hard to receive or take credit for just how good they are in whatever environment you find yourself.
But who says when you're keeping healthy, all you do is eat fruits? Not all fruits are good for you when you want to.
So which ones are good for us?
Watermelons are great.
Okay. I bring you all the trendy stuff in the world of fashion and style. And of course, our men would also have their say right here on the show. My name is Cookie T. Join us this Saturday, 3 p.m. exactly on Today's Woman right here on TV3.
Today's Woman, all new season with Cookie T shows Saturdays at 3 p.m. on TV3. Today's Woman is brought to you by Latex Foam.
It's about to get more sporty with a touch of super entertainment with your favorite stars.
Times we played the Quitinge, the Chaskele, the football.
Who should I take? Tony Cruz?
Cruz.
Oh, why?
While keeping you up to date with every trending issue in your world of sports on Warmer Plus.
But in comes Thomas Tuchel and everything changes. And when he said he wanted to be better than me, I was happy.
Let's keep it more sporty and super entertaining.
Warm Up Plus now shows on Saturdays at 11 a.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Betway.
Welcome back to Key Point here on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7. We're also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. My guest joining me in studio this morning, the Honorable Alexander Akwesiakwa, is Member of Parliament for Achimota constituency and also a member of the Trade, Industry, Tourism, Health Committee, Government Assurance Committee as well. It's with us. Good morning. Honorable, welcome.
Yeah, morning.
Also, Professor Ransford Jampo is a professor of political science at the University of Ghana, Legon. Professor Ransford Jampo, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Also, we have the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, the North Tongue Member of Parliament, It's a ranking on the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament. Many, many other portfolios that he served as well for the good of the country. Good morning.
Good morning, Alfred.
Great. And Martin Kpebu is private legal practitioner. He is a leader of one of three individual bondholder groups, and then also the convener for the Komepre Corridor, the demonstration. So, Mr. Kpebu, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Okansi.
Great. So, this is not indeed the first time that the calls have been made for the president to take a second look at the latest appointment to the Electoral Commission. In fact, just a day after he swore them into office, not just the NDC, but civil society organizations, including well-meaning Ghanaians, raised concerns about the politically exposed persons who have been appointed to the commission. The president, in swearing them in, said, and I quote, "I have said it before, and I will repeat it. Elections are about those who cast their vote, not those who count, not those who supervise, not those who transmit, and not those who declare. The heart of the democratic process is giving effect to the choices made by those who cast their votes." To wit, that the persons appointed to the commission have little impact on the outcome. Is it really the case? But let's take a look at this. These are the people we're talking about, that the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers is the latest to call on them to honorably resign, or the president should sack them. We're talking about 2 out of the 3. The first is what you see on the screen. Dr. Peter Piahine. Here's what we know about him. He's the chair of the Department of Computer Science and Informatics at the University of Energy and Natural Resources until his appointment, and also assistant professor with over 10 years working experience, head science and informatics at the same university, CEO of CY Technologies and consultancy. Is also, as mentioned previously, as patron of TESCON, and included in, at a point, he was included in the 6-member shortlist for the Bono Regional Minister position in 2021. The second person that Cordeo is asking that he steps aside, or that is honorably resigns, or the president sacks them, is Hajia Salima Ahmed Tijani, banker with close to 2 decades of experience, senior remittance officer, Agricultural Development Bank, and a member, Chartered Institute of Bankers, associate member, Boardroom Institute, Bachelor of Arts degree in Integrated Development Studies from UDS, and MBA in Project Management from GIMPA. So these are the 2 out of the 3 who were recently appointed. Let me start off with you, Honorable Akwesi Akwa, on this. That, do you see through the concerns that having, even though the president acted right constitutionally, because the constitution is silent about the political exposure or association or affiliation of persons appointed to the Electoral Commission, the impact, the signal, and also the optics is of concern in this instance?
Good morning to you and your cherished listeners and viewers, and also to my co-panel members. Alfred, this issue has come at a time that we are trying to ensure that the sanctity of the Electoral Commission is maintained. Now, my take on this is the president, like you clearly stated, has used his constitutional power to appoint these ones. Initially, it was Dr. Piahine, where people related him to our party, NPP. As I sit here as a member of parliament for NPP, Achimota, I haven't had any relationship with Dr. Piahine, and I don't know him. So I do not have any evidence that he belongs to our party. Now, if you look at some of the things that have churned out in terms of flyers, the videos, one would say that in his private capacity, he may ascribe to a political ideology. So initially, when the issues came up, we realized that some of the flyers that came up were fake. It had been done by certain people for that particular agenda. You know, and so if you really want to analyze Dr. Pierre Hene and what has been said about him and how quickly people mobilize these flyers just for him to really become an NPP member, to discredit his appointment to the EC, then you want to ask who is qualified to be on the board of EC. Certainly, we are related to each other. Now, for people who are political animals, you would definitely have had some relationship with a political party in the past. Should that be a bar against you in some form of appointment, especially when you haven't held any political office, especially in that political party?
He's been quoted as being a patron of TESCON. In fact, if he wasn't a member of the party or all the videos you've seen wasn't true, I think he would have actually come out to discredit that or disprove. But as far as I do know,
there is one reaction. There's one reaction that came up that doesn't actually recognize TESCON on campus. I have that reaction, and so for somebody to say that he has been a patron within that time frame that was quoted is not true. That reaction had come up.
How about the videos as well? You know,
the videos
to the extent that the argument is that you are allowed to be political. That's what you're referring to. That at one point in time or the other, these persons may have been associated or express some political opinion.
That's it.
But there's a difference between being...
Expression of political opinion do not actually mean that you belong to a political ideology. Because for the videos that I've seen, he was praising the free SHS, which is a policy that had come for all Ghanaians, and all Ghanaians have embraced it.
In fact, that's not the only one.
That's what I have seen. That's what I have seen. And it's that video had been used as one of the issues against him, that he was supporting a government program. And you want to ask, since when? Since when did supporting a particular government program make you a politician or somebody belonging to government?
Okay.
You understand? So that is, I mean, for him. Now, if we look at Hajia, I think that this whole Kodio thing has been very unfair to her.
Meaning?
Because if you look at it, they have just traced his relationship with some politically exposed people. So she herself cannot be said to be a political person. But perhaps she may have been related to this person or that person who is an appointee or that. Is she being appointed or per her qualification and standard, or per her family relationship? Why are we doing this to ourselves? We are related to people. We are social beings as Ghanaians, and so definitely we are related to each other. Now, in future, if I sit here, and one of the people that I cherish so much in my political life is the late Lieutenant Colonel J.Y. Asase, who is somebody that my father comes after directly. Because I knew him, I was with him, we saw how he was with PNDC and all that. Today, if somebody goes to see that I'm so related to this late soldier, would that bar me from taking any political appointments?
So, but I think the distinction here, and I'll come to Professor Jampo in a bit, that you can't be political but not partisan. I mean, there are two different things. So
And so
in the
Hajia
case
is
of
not-
this, Dr. Piahene,
Yes.
would you agree that yes, he was political, but being partisan, as in going onto a program talking about not just the free SHS, but a number of videos that have been seen where he's talking about the New Patriotic Party, overly exposed him and may rather be of concern to, and I'm sure if you look at it from the neutral perspective, being appointed onto the Electoral Commission would impact on the credibility or neutrality of the commission because of the perception.
Alfred, I have seen videos of Professor Dr. Piahene talking about free SHS. I do not know whether praising or lauding a government program makes you partisan. If in this context we are taking him out of a political personality and we think that he was too partisan by talking about a government program. I do not know him as a government communicator. I do not know him as a party communicator. I haven't met him anywhere. He's not on any platform that I know. And so if perhaps he goes on radio and he wants to support a government policy, it does not make him one of us. It does not make him a party person. He is an ordinary citizen who is so interested in the development of Ghana and is so excited about our government's program and wants to champion it. So at the end of the day, if he does that and he's caught the president's attention and he's been appointed, does that make him partisan?
But do you agree that he fits the definition of a politically exposed person? And for that matter, that alone sends worrying signals of his appointment onto a commissioner that's supposed to be neutral.
Well, he may be interested in politics. He may be a political animal. He may be somebody who wants to be heard politically. But I wouldn't call him a politically exposed person.
I see. Well, you see, the former EC chair, Dr. Kojo Afari-Gyan, personally, from what I do know, decided not to vote. That was his own individual decision. It's not something that cuts across all the others that came after him, but it was his own conviction to stay away from the process of voting. But Professor Jampol, let me bring you at this point, having heard those who defend this particular position that the president has taken a decision on.
My colleague and friend and honorable member of parliament, your work is very difficult. I understand. It becomes difficult to speak up truth to power on matters like this, especially when your party is involved. And I think the whole of the country, Ghana's political history, it shows that it's only one man, PC Apiofori, who could speak against his own party. And even when he did that, I think how he was ostracized by his own party in parliament is a painful lesson to many people, including the honorable member of parliament here, and they don't want to go that route. So I understand. Struggling, difficult, finding it difficult to say that the guy isn't a party person and he's not partisan. You see, long before Kudio spoke about this particular matter, I am sure that, Alfred, you are aware that some of us are taking issues with this kind of appointment. We teach, in political science, we teach about how independent institutions would have to be protected. And one of the mechanisms for achieving or for making institutions independent is about the mode of appointing members into them. It is true, somebody would always be there to appoint somebody. Someone must always be there to appoint somebody. But if you are talking about independence of institutions, then in the mode of appointment, there must be certain measures and mechanisms put in place to ensure that the appointment is done with recourse to meritocracy. That is number one. And then number two, there must be measures in place to ensure that you cannot fault the person who is appointed into independent institutions on partisan lines.
Right.
Let me explain this. You see, under winner takes all politics, one palpable manifestation of it is the way and manner the appointment power of the executive arm of government is exercised. Oftentimes, it is exercised in a manner that benefits only partisan cronies without recourse to meritocracy. And so it is not about who can do it, but it's about who is a party person.
Right.
Okay. When you talk about not allowing party people to go there, it is not to say that doing politics is bad. You see, Aristotle says human beings are by nature political animals. We become less of human beings if you strip us of politics. I'm talking about politics. And in fact, if you hear any human being saying that he or she doesn't do politics, it tells you that the person himself or herself has a fundamental misunderstanding of what politics is about. The ubiquity of politics is such that you cannot say you don't do politics. Everybody does politics. But when Max Weber tells you that public servants and people who are going to be operating in independent institutions aren't supposed to do politics, what he's saying is that they are not supposed to do partisan politics. There's a difference between partisan politics and politics. Now, so he's saying that you should not be seen openly defending or openly speaking against one party or the other. That is one. Number two, you shouldn't be seen at party rallies. You shouldn't be seen to be wearing party t-shirts, party knickers, party trousers, party shoes, or adorning yourself in any party paraphernalia. Okay?
Right.
Now, if you do this, then Weber says you are doing partisan politics.
Right.
Okay, so we've seen several videos, and if you dig down, you see so many things that I think one of the appointees, Dr. Appiah, I mean, we've seen it, that he's involved in himself in so many things that makes him partisan in the description of Max Weber. And so such a person...
Wearing party t-shirts?
No, he's seen openly speaking in favor, openly, okay, in defense of a particular party and then in opposition to another. That makes you partisan.
So the emphasis on the open declaration
yes,
of position.
yes. So party t-shirt, being at party rallies, and openly seen to be campaigning for a certain party or speaking seriously in defense of a certain party and in opposition to the other. That makes you very partisan. Now, so we've seen that he's done that. And then you are saying that the school in which he teaches do not recognize TESCON. I mean, TESCON and TAIN, they are not bodies that are formally recognized and documented in the statutes of any university. Okay? But if you go to their dean of students and those other officials, they will tell you that those bodies, they do operate. And so, like I said, your work is difficult. So that
I don't see the difficulty.
your work is quite. Your work is quite. So that is that the appointment did not first of all take into consideration meritocracy, and then secondly, it ignored the fact that the person is a partisan person. Now, on the bit on meritocracy, look at this. See. I looked at their CVs or a brief resume that you presented, you showed here.
Yes.
And I asked myself, how do they merit this particular appointment? You see, I worked with Jean Mensah for 14 years at the IEA. Now, within the 14 years, me and her, we worked on a program called the Ghana Political Parties Program. It was a program that brought together the then leadership of the parliamentary political parties to meet at the IEA Secretariat once every month to discuss issues of national importance in an apolitical manner.
Right.
Every month. It went on for 10 years. Okay, it was a program that actually birthed the call for constitution review. It was a program that prepared the Presidential Transition Act, the program that prepared the bill on public fund of political parties. It was a program that actually initiated discussions, towards the passage of the right to information. I can talk about so many achievements. Now, if when Jim Mensah was appointed the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, if you recall, I was the only Ghanaian who went about defending it. Why?
Yeah, most of us didn't like it.
Yes, I was the only Ghanaian who went about defending her. Why? Because, in my view, she had that track record of bringing together the leadership of political parties, representation in parliament, to dialogue monthly on key national issues. And given that at the EC, she was going to work with political parties, I thought that they may have looked at some of these experiences that she had. And even Jim Mensah, people are accusing her of being partisan.
Yeah.
So if that woman, even the woman of that caliber, with that kind of track record, people are still accusing her. How do you bring Dr. Appiah on board? What has he done in the area of election management? What has he done in the area of electoral reforms? What has he done in the area of our issues germane to handling of what has he done? Yet in Ghana, even within the MPP, there are people whose names stand out. I've been writing on electoral reforms. I've worked on electoral reforms. I've been doing a lot of election, a lot of things on election. So there are people whose names stand out when we talk about elections. There are civil society heads. There are civil society leaders. Even there are some people across the divide who, when you talk about matters relating to elections, their names will pop up. And so you're expecting that in terms of meritocracy,
right,
they would have brought on board some of these people. You see, the president, and the winner takes all policies, as I indicated earlier on, appointment is given in a manner that satisfies only party cronies. But this president, when he started, he showed a certain indication that made some of us develop some hope in him. First was about the appointment of Martin Amidu as a special prosecutor. It gave a certain indication that the president wanted a certain caliber of people to be part of his governance, and he was only going to be respecting meritocracy. Everybody knew the pedigree of Martin Amidu and what he could do. Okay, but it appears that in the dying minutes of his administration, Lord Acton said something that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so I have of the view that it is possible that absolute power has corrupted the president, and so he does not so much want to care.
Absolute power has corrupted President Akufo-Addo.
Yes, otherwise, I'm sure that he should have known that the appointment of such a person who hasn't got the track record in that area, and his only track record, I'm sure his overarching track record is the fact that he's a partisan person, he should have known that people would take issues. And you see, what even worsened the case or the situation was the attempt to offer a certain justification of what he did ahead of time. If you listen to him and just what you just quoted,
yes,
the president said that election is not about those who count, but it's about those who vote. And I said, Mr. President, with the greatest of respect to you, it's what that statement's a fundamental misunderstanding of our total electoral processes. Because see, if those who count do not matter, then those who vote would not also matter. Because what happens to a vote that is not counted? He would not have become president if his vote had not been properly counted. And so in electoral politics, those who count are as important as those who vote. You cannot draw a line of demarcation between them. A vote that is validly cast without being properly counted is a no vote. And so, if anybody can become a member of the Electoral Commission, then why didn't I don't know, but why didn't he just then go across the divide to appoint other people, you know, from outside the shores of the country? Why, if anybody, just anybody, can become a member? You see, we are at a crossroad. We've gotten to that time where the independence of the Electoral Commission is being questioned. We've gotten to that time where there is huge legitimacy and public trust deficit in the Electoral Commission. And so I was thinking that the president would have seized the opportunity to appoint a certain caliber of people who have the track record, experience, and competence, who would come to the commission to wield a certain moderating influences on what the commission does.
Okay.
So that people will say, well, the president is interested in building or rebuilding public trust in the institution. But staffing the place with people who are partisan would always lead to negative perception. You see, when that happens, the Electoral Commission itself will be robbed of its own institutional peace. It needs to work, because even when it means well, people will read all manner of meanings into everything that it does.
I want to stay you a bit on that issue of the three things you mentioned, and I'll come to you a bit. But to you, Professor Jampo, you will talk about track record, experience, and then also the issue of competence, right? Those are the three things you mentioned. I want to look at the constitutional provision on who qualifies to be appointed onto the Electoral Commission. This is it, Article 43(1) of the 1992 Constitution. And when this IEA constitutional reviews, some of these sessions I've attended, they point to this as the root cause of all the issues we're talking about. That one, there shall be an Electoral Commission which shall consist of a chair, 2 deputy chairmen, and then 4 other members. So let's go on. It says the members of the commission shall be appointed by the president under Article 70 of this Constitution. So this is one of the issues, that the appointing authority himself, who is a player in an election, or whose party is a player in an election, has now the authority to appoint the referee of the same match that he's going to take part in. And this is the second problem. The president shall, acting on the advice of the Council of State, appoint the chair, deputy chair, and other members of the Electoral Commission. So the Council of State, in this instance, are thought to have advised the president on this. That's the next thing. Take a look at this one as well. 44(1). A person is not qualified to be appointed a member of the Electoral Commission unless he is qualified to be elected as a member of parliament. Okay. So that's the only qualification they mentioned there.
The framers of the Constitution were wise in putting these provisions there. Look, we cannot legislate to cover every aspect of human behavior. Otherwise, you need a whole human being to be carrying our Constitution. That is why our Constitution is bigger than that of America. Our Constitution, in terms of volume and size, ours is bigger. We can't put everything in a Constitution. But you see, a good leader knows how to see the spirit behind every constitutional provision.
And not go with just the letter.
Okay, so if you go, you see, politicians would deliberately look at the letter of the Constitution and exploit it to their advantage. But you know, where is this person going to serve? He's going to serve in on an independent commission. And so that should straight away tell you the qualification in the spirit of the Constitution, or in the spirit of the provision that one will have to look at, because the person is going to man an independent, commission. If you say that, well, these are the constitutional requirements, we've satisfied it, and even though the person is overly partisan, it doesn't matter, it means you do not understand the spirits behind constitutional provisions. And then you're talking about the Council of State, and they may have advised. But please, with the greatest of respect, our very senior, most respected people serving on the Council of State. So these days, when you speak so harshly against them, then some of them will call you and say, "My boy." So
censoring you.
Oh, not that. I mean, nobody can censor us for example. But the point is this. The point is this. Who appoints members of the Council of State? I'm telling you that the president appoints quite a huge number of them. And those he does not appoint, he has every influence over how they are selected into the Council of State in a manner that goes contrary to the idea
from which we borrowed the traditional conception of Council of Elders. In the traditional conception of Council of Elders, no chief had a hand in appointing any member of the Council of Elders. The Council of Elders got to the chief's palace as of right. In fact, before many chiefs were born, the Council of Elders were already operating in the chief's palace. That's why when the chief is misbehaving, they tell you, now we're doing. Okay? The Council of Elders, they are respective family heads, clan heads of their various of their various families. And so long before the chief was born, that was why in the Bible we're told that somebody was 8 years and he was made a chief. He succeeded. Why? Because he went to sit on the laps of the Council of Elders and he had no hand in appointing them. Unfortunately, in our part of the world, whenever the president appoints you directly or indirectly, then everybody becomes beholden to the appointing authority. And so, to that extent, coupled with the fact that the advice of the Council of State is not binding on the president, you cannot use the Council of State as an excuse by saying, well, he consulted the Council of State. Did they advise him? How did they advise him? Did the president listen? Is the advice of the Council of State, binding on the president? I mean, these are questions whose answers we know already. So please, my point is that I know I like talking, but let me wrap up by saying that it hurts me, and I'm sad that yesterday I heard Reverend Dr. Fred Degbe, a very intelligent Reverend minister, say that he's calling on the president to withdraw the appointment, or the people themselves should also resign. But if you look at the tone and the demeanor of Reverend Degbe, you could tell that he knows that the president will not listen to him. And so I am hurt that civil society, it will get to a time that civil society it will be decidedly clear in the psyche of civil society that, look, as for this one, if you say the president will not listen, we should not get to that point where we will all resign ourselves to say that, oh, as for this president, he won't listen. And so we are calling on the people to resign. We know very well that the culture of resignation is not ingrained in the psyche of public servants in Ghana. And so calling on them to resign amounts to merely romancing a stone.
That is what Reverend Fred Degbe, Dr. Fred Degbe said in that clip we played. But, Mr. Blakwa, so if you're listening to the president, suggesting that the heart of the democratic process is giving effect, and I'm quoting him, to the choices made by those who cast the votes. And he repeated himself that elections are about those who cast their votes, not those who count, not those who supervise, not those who transmit, and not those who declare. That's really the fundamental duty of the Electoral Commission. But he says that the real process, the heart of the democratic process, is on those who vote. So those who are appointed onto the commission may have little or no effect.
So, Alfred, as Professor Jampo has eloquently espoused, that concept of the president is totally flawed. It is jaundiced, it is dangerous, and it cannot be accepted in any decent democracy. The president himself, this is a novel theory to him. He himself. I have here an extract which is still online, widely publicized, Ghana Web, My Joy Online, Awake News, and the others. The president was addressing the Ghanaian community in Nouakchott, Mauritania, on the 2nd of July, 2018. And these are the president's words. The caption of the story, which your viewers can just Google, they'll find it. I won't appoint MPP sympathizer as EC chair, Akufo-Addo. That's the head. And they quote the president as saying, President Nana Akufo-Addo has said he will appoint an apolitical person as a replacement for dismissed chair of the Electoral Commission, Mrs. Charlotte Osei, as well as her two other deputies, Amadou Sule and Georgina Opoku Amankwa, speaking publicly on the dismissal of the three commissioners of the election management body for the first time on Saturday, 30th June 2018, at a town hall meeting with Ghanaians in Nouakchott, Mauritania, ahead of the conduct of the 31st AU Summit. The president said, as far as the replacement of the three are concerned, quote, we are not looking for persons who are coming to do a job for the NDC or for the MPP. We are looking for persons who are coming to do a job for Ghana. This is what we are looking for the Electoral Commission. The president stated that he had no choice but to act on the recommendations of the committee set up by the Chief Justice to investigate complaints against Mrs. Osei and her two deputies. So what has changed? The president in 2018, when Mrs. Charlotte Osei and her two deputies had been removed, was at pains to assure Ghanaians that in exercising that constitutional mandate, he will make sure that he is fair, he is candid, he will make sure that he will appoint someone who is apolitical, who does not have any political dent, who cannot be aligned openly with any political party. At that time, the president didn't know that those who count don't matter. So you see how the president is contradicting himself. And you see, that's what happens when you don't act based on principle. When you don't act based on fairness, you will be caught up in your own web. You fall in your own trap. So, look, let's be very, very sincere in this discussion. Let the table stand. All our colleagues and friends on the MPP side who are struggling today to defend this, would they take this position? Will this be their posture if it was President Mahama in power and has appointed an out-and-out, a known Tain patron as an electoral commissioner? Would this be their position? So you see, the problem we have in this country is that we don't come to the national discourse with the country at the center. There's too much partisanship, extreme partisanship. Look, if I am in the MPP, I would have said, as for this, it is not the right thing to do. And I want to commend a few of them. Recently, on these electoral reforms, the Honorable Kennedy Ejepong said that even though his party is against removing the passport and the guarantor system in that new CI, that proposed CI, he is opposed to it. He's the only person I've heard so far. And that's commendable. That's where we must reach. In this country, in our democracy, at this stage of our democracy, where we are able to speak truth to power, where we are able to stick to our conscience. I mean, everybody knows in Parliament, there are times that I have taken positions on matters that may not appear popular, may not even be in line, in sync. And there was a time I had to even resign, you know that, from the Appointments Committee, because there are certain things going on that I did not agree with. Of course, I have failed to provide details, you know. So let us, in the national discourse, be sincere, be honest. This claim that, oh, the university has issued a statement that TESCON is not a recognized body in our university. Of course, if you read the university statutes, it's not a JCR, but we all know that they exist. I have gone to that campus, not once, not twice, to speak as a guest speaker at Tain ceremonies. I have been told, when I was there, that, oh, you know, this is the weekend that was allowed, so our colleagues on the MPPs are also having their meetings. Sometimes we even meet fellow MPs, colleagues, exchange pleasantries, and then we part ways. Some are going to speak at a TESCON event. Some are going to speak at a Tain event. Nobody can claim that they are not aware that TESCON exists at the University of Energy and Natural Resources, a university which was established by Professor Mills. Nobody can claim that. Nobody can say that they are not aware that Dr. Piahene is not or was not a patron. Besides that, he was not one of those you would describe as a docile patron or, if you like, a very apathetic activist. He is a very vibrant communicator.
A vibrant communicator.
Vibrant, a member of the communication team of the MPP.
A member of the communication
of
team.
the MPP in the region, the Bono region.
No.
This is the Bono region?
Yes, and has actively actively, we've seen the videos. We have seen the videos, and we have spoken to the producers of the shows, how the deployments were done, how he got to be programmed, to be on the panel.
So this information that you have been able to gather.
And the producers have confirmed that he's a member of the communication team.
Yes, and that every week there is programming that is done.
So you speak to the producers
exactly,
of the radio
These
programs.
are things that you cannot hide.
No.
It's a known fact, and that is why the videos are all over the place. I mean, when we've heard these utterances, are we saying that in this country, of more than 30 million Ghanaians, that's all we can find to do an Article 46 job? The Constitution says under Article 46 that the Electoral Commission must not be subject to the control of any person, any authority. Which tells you that it's supposed to be an independent body. Manifestly so. All those who are going to occupy a position key as commissioner in the Electoral Commission must be without blemish, must be people who will inspire confidence. So you see, I come back to this point that we all know that this is a no-brainer. It's like Haas and Kotoko going to play a match, and then Haas chooses the referee, who is a member of their bench, and you expect that Kotoko will accept. It's a no-brainer. It's simple. And you see, when the president now makes a U-turn and says that those who count don't matter, were we not in this country? I recall when Dr. Afarijan resigned, there were retired, pardon me. There were very well-informed, well-researched papers that came from the MPP that said, look, though the Constitution allows the president to appoint under Article 43, and the Electoral Commission Act 415 has stated how, but can we change the norm and allow for broad-based consultation? I remember a number of civil society organizations came on board and said, oh, President Mahama, even though if you proceed to appoint, you will be doing what the Constitution requires of you. But let us, and I remember someone like the president's cousin, Gabi Ochidaku. Gabi Ochidaku was a lead proponent, wrote extensively. And I thought that it was quite convincing that can we begin to adopt that approach? You know, a broad-based consultation. Open interviews and all of that. You can let, yes, it was discussed extensively. But, you know, at the time, President Mahama had to go according to the law. Just like the president has done. No, but President Mahama, look, let me be clear. No president in our history has done what President Akufo-Addo has done. No president will have even dared, will have had the courage. President Rawlings, say whatever you may say of him, that he was a dictator, he was, a coup leader and all of that, who was now learning the steps of the move. But in appointments, ask all the Dr. Farijan's colleagues, those who were in Legon, ask. You know, it was widely received, well embraced. I mean, none of our presidents, not President Kufuor, not President Mahama, will have done this. Not President Mills. I mean, fortunately, there were opportunities throughout the tenure, because you know that even though the emphasis is on the commissioner, there are a number of commissioners. And check, virtually all presidents have had the opportunity to appoint a commissioner. This is the first time we are seeing this brouhaha, where people of manifest dent, who are aligned openly with the ruling party. It's never happened. So, look, this is one of the sordid legacies that President Akufo-Addo is going to leave. Very, very embarrassing. And when you hear civil society, look, I've been reading the statement that Kodio issued. And look, it really saddens my heart. It's like everybody has seen that as for this president, he's impervious to advice. it's like, you know, it's a basket case. Let's leave him there. Listen to what they say. We are painfully aware. This is Reverend Dr. Degbe speaking. We are painfully aware that voluntary and constitutionally grounded revocation of this unfortunate and democratically problematic EC appointment by the president is extremely unlikely. Can you believe that? It's extremely unlikely. However, nothing stops the affected appointees, namely Dr. Peter Piahini and Hajia Salima Ahmed Tijani, from voluntarily and honorably resigning from membership of the EC. Unquote. I mean, can you believe that? That this is where we have reached. And we all know the credibility of CODEO. I mean, how they have helped observe elections. They have been involved in the pre-preparations, during, post-observer reports, and all of that. It's a giant body. They have funded heavily. They are in every constituency. For this respected body to now say, oh, as for our president, we know that he's become impervious to advice. We know he won't listen to us. Because really, it's not only Professor Jampo, many civil society organizations, CDD, everybody. And you see, I was reading the recent Afrobarometer. You know that the Electoral Commission is one of the least trusted institutions in Ghana. Only 10%. That is worrying. You can imagine after this appointment, if the Afrobarometer is conducted again, what the percentage will be.
I think that's the details
one of the least trusted.
Of the round 9 Afrobarometer survey
only
conducted
10%.
By the CDD.
Can you believe that? Only 10%.
Indeed.
Of Ghanaians have any trust in that body. So as I conclude, I think that moving forward, you see, I can appreciate Professor Jampo's point about, you know, the Ghanaian constitution is even more voluminous than the American one. He even could have added the fact that in the UK, there is even no written constitution at all, and all of that. But you see, I have come to a juncture where I now see that over time, even though the framers of our constitution were well-intentioned, they expected that there will be high integrity in public office. Leaders will respect themselves, respect the people, will be honest, will be sincere. A few years ago, you say those who count matter. You are not going to appoint anybody who is politically tainted. Now you are saying those, less than 4 years, you are saying that those who count don't matter. I am now at a juncture where I say that, look, I support those making calls for constitutional reform. And we have to spell out, like the Kenyans have done. You know, if you go to Kenya now, after 2011, they have specified, after they had all these skirmishes, the violence and all of that, they killed themselves, all the bloodshed. They decided, they know that those who count matter, like everybody knows, every Democrat knows, every political activist knows. They have decided that you can't be a political party member and serve on the Electoral Commission. It's spelled out clearly in the law, in the new Kenyan law. They have also said that even after the president appoints, you must be subjected to parliamentary vetting, scrutiny, and approval. And then they now leave even the chairperson for them to decide. So as peers, the 7 of you, when you are appointed, you meet and decide who should be the head, who should be the commissioner. It has been taken away from the hands of the president. We may want to start looking at some of those best practices and amend, because you see, I have come to the realization, it's just like ministerial appointees. There is no cap, so we are abusing it. We got all the way to 126 presidential staffers. There is no cap in the law. Now we are 1,048 if you add the public servants. So I am clear in my mind that, look, because of presidents like Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, let us spell out everything clearly, expressly, explicitly, and bar them from doing some of these horrendous. Look, what the president has done, he's caused such a mortal damage to the democracy of our country. It's condemnable. The president must bow his head in shame.
And in fact, this calls for the constitutional provision is growing because of the evidence of some of the deficiencies in our democracy that we are seeing over time. Obviously, because of the application of the law in a certain way that raises concern. So if you have it spelled clearly in the latter, then if a leader decides not to also take into consideration the spirit of the Constitution, we can refer to what the letters say in black and white in the Constitution. But this is where Lawyer Martin Kpebu comes in because of what the law says and what the president obviously has the discretion to have done in fulfilling the constitutional provision, but also how it impacts on the spirit. The neutrality, and then also the discharge of the duties of this same body that we're talking about. Yes. Because I remember speaking to Albert Ahing, who was once Director of Elections of the Electoral Commission, at a point, when you are appointed or you are named, the CID, BNI, all do some investigations on your background to clear you before you are appointed. I don't know if that practice still goes on.
Yeah, Mr. Kanse, that practice is basically to check, know your connections and criminal background. Yeah. But, of course, their political affiliation may come up, but, they don't have, they are not asked to recommend that the person's, about the person's political affiliation. No. They gather a dossier on you. Okay, right. Where have you been? Who are your friends? And especially crimes and people you are linked to. Maybe, are you part of maybe a terrorist cell or no, and all those things. Those are basically, that's a security check, okay, the background check and the rest. So that one may not help in that process. So, Mr. Kanse, the other part of your question is about the Constitution. Yeah. You read it earlier, yes? You look at Article 44. It just briefly says that a person is not qualified to be appointed a member of the Electoral Commission unless he's qualified to be elected as a member of Parliament. Then you go to membership of Parliament. Not much will come there. There are the issues of if you've been convicted of a crime involving dishonesty, treason, all those. They don't count it. So let's go straight to the point. So the straight to the point is that, you see, this Constitution has a certain architecture and key, and it's good Professor Jampo is here, so Kujatu also does foreign policy is here, so it helps. You see, there is that architecture, the checks and the balances, the spirit of the Constitution. The spirit of the Constitution in several Supreme Court decisions has been held to be general. You're looking at the ideals. So probity, accountability, transparency. You say it? These basically. So let's go to Article 37. You see some of them stated there. And as I've told you, countless Supreme Court decisions. It's as if every time the Supreme Court wants us to know that, look, let's not joke with this Constitution. A lot hangs on our shoulders. So you take the Supreme Court decisions, and lots of them, they talk about their spirit. So look at 37:1. It says that the state shall endeavor to secure and protect a social order founded on the ideals and principles of freedom, equality, justice, probity, and accountability. You see? Probity. So you are talking about integrity, honesty, accountability. You remember we discussed this same topic about 2 weeks ago when they were sworn in, that Saturday. He said that you can't keep your affiliates and surrogates as match commissioners and referee in the game to be played. That's what I said. Let's put it graphically. People are going to play a game, and then the president appoints the match commissioners, the referees, all that, linesmen or assistant. Now you say assistant referees, right? Yes. No, then the game is rigged even before the game starts. Yes. The game is rigged even before it starts. And you hear what Yaa Asantewaa said. Yaa Asantewaa granted you an interview, right? Yes. I'm sure now when we say Yaa Asantewaa, you should know that's Sufan Ekufu. Yes. Right? Yes, that's it. And may God bless her for what she's done. Yeah, we'll never forget what Sufan Ekufu is done. All the men that have failed to speak, shame on you. You see, it takes Yaa Asantewaa to now come and lead the war. Painful men are in the house. Now when we are looking for men, people will get up. But when we are looking for real men to talk, they are quiet. But if you say physical men, yeah, you will see some people, oh, we are men, we are men. But when you really have to talk, show that you are real men, you can't talk. You see, so now Yaa Asantewaa is leading us. Hear what Yaa Asantewaa said. He says, in the appointment, do it in such a way that no political party is disadvantaged. That's what she said. If you watch the Ghana web thing.
In fact, we spoke to her exclusively.
Excellent. Please, can we
have
play
that video.
Say, do the appointment.
Let's hear the former Chief Justice.
In such a way that nobody is disadvantaged. And when we say conflict of interest, so we are talking about conflict here. So, Madam Tijani, Salima Ahmed Tijani, her mom is a High Commissioner to Nigeria. Come on, what are you saying? High Commissioner to Nigeria. Is it just, there's a political connection. There's a political connection. So how is she going to be independent? So you see why we come back to what Gabi himself advocated years ago, 2016. Was it 2015, 2016?
So her mom was.
That the man was. I hear is. If it was, it's still the same thing. But we don't deny that it is High Commissioner to Nigeria, right? So that's it. That's a connection. And as for Dr. Ituya, I'm sure everybody agrees. So much overwhelming evidence. So then we still have to go back to Gabi's own proposal. Gabi proposed in 2016 that in appointing EC chair and those people, let's have a public, people who are interested should apply. They will be interviewed publicly. And then let's add this. So at that time, the idea was that the CSO should vote. I'm thinking that now let's go beyond the CSOs, increase the electoral college. Let's do online voting. Citizens can vote. So you see, for some weeks now, I've been going back to the principle that let's go back to ancient Greece, where we take a lot of inspiration from this democracy. So they will tell you that Western democracy is in the what? Footnotes of Plato. That's the writing. You hear, Prof, you can add if they say. You often hear people say that Western democracy is built on the footnotes of Plato. So you read Plato's writings. Of course, he was trying to record Socrates, right? And all that, the things that they suggested. So you read those books and you see what the democracy they were practicing there. Even when it was direct, the people would go into the assembly and vote directly. Socrates saw a lot of things wrong with democracy. That time it was direct too. They would go into the assembly, debate, and then vote. It wasn't this representational democracy we are doing now, so that now Honorable Akwa is representing the people of Achimota and the rest. No. It was direct democracy. They go into the assembly, and then people vote. Of course, when you follow the history, you see that some people were always docile. They will not participate, right? But now you see, we live in a different generation. We are eager to participate, but we don't want any partisan labels. So, in this moving forward, let's have our own voting for the EC commissioners, the independent constitutional bodies. We have to vote for them as citizens. Online voting. Online, let's not restrict to CSOs. And Gabi birthed this idea that the CSO should be involved in choosing them.
So who selects the persons who are going to be eventually voted for by the populace?
Good. So I think the original idea was that people should apply. So then there can be a screening, winnowing process.
But I think if you look at the commission, the Constitutional Review Commission's report, I think there are some recommendations after they had also done extensive nationwide public consultations. There are better recommendations as to how some of these things can be done. If we had truly had an independent Council of State, they would have counted the exercise of some of
what we have is not...
no, a council, as I explained earlier on, our Council of State members are oftentimes either beholden to a president or the president is not obliged to listen to them. So they may have
a clear Supreme Court decision that the advice is not binding on the president. It's not binding.
They may have even advised the president.
Yes, good. So, listen, let me read what Sophia Kufu said. It's very important.
In fact, let's play that video.
With Yaa Asantewaa, God bless you. Yaa Asantewaa is saving Ghana. The others have to get up. The professors in the university, the retired, other retired
standards for the public service. Public service is anything that the citizens' money, the taxpayers' money goes into. That's part of public service. And the conflict of interest is something which always can be dealt with, whether it is written in black and white or not. If somebody feels that somebody has a conflict of interest, and conflict of interest does not necessarily have to be actual. It can be potential. And so it's up to the public to see what they want to do about it. If it's okay with them, why not? That's all I can say. So even CODEO could even take the matter to court if they want to. Yes.
Do you think that what the public is saying about them being politically exposed is really true with your experience?
Me, I'm not a politician, and so I don't know what goes on. All I know is that the only thing I can do is maybe analogy on the bench. If there's somebody you've worked with before, or you're about to maybe serve on a very important committee with, you'll be interacting very actively. If they have a matter before you, it's up to you to decide whether you will recuse yourself or not. For me, I would recuse myself. Not because it's likely to influence me, but also in the justice or doing the right thing in public service. A lot of it also depends on public perception.
The former Chief Justice there, and it complements that the point you were making, that a lot of these issues borders on public perception.
Yes. Yes.
That's key.
Yes, and you remember, like we were saying, the last time there was one day I mentioned the Caesar's wife's test. We don't want any cloud of suspicion. And I think Prof made that point. So Caesar's wife's test is that the moment there's a cloud of suspicion, you come in as a party foot soldier, we would think that the outcome is going to be rigged because you're a party foot soldier. Don't come in. There are enough neutrals in Ghana that we can, get these commissioners from. You say, so you don't do that because you see that Julius Caesar, that story where the Caesar's wife, because of that suspicion that his wife had committed adultery, he said, look, even the fact that you have created this situation where there's a suspicion around you, I'm divorcing you. He divorced her. I don't want my wife to be under this suspicion. So order your steps in such a way that there's no suspicion around you. So, but in this case where CODEO has gathered clear evidence, and here CJ Ekufu saying that they can go to court. So I think the first step we have to do, and I was at that function where Chief Justice Sophia Ekufu moderated the session. Listen, Lawyer Okudzeto made a submission earlier. It's not specific about CODEO, but he repeated this point we've all been making here, that the Ghanaian citizen, we've abdicated our roles. We've become so timid. He made that point. Citizens are not asking for accountability. You've sat home, you are not protesting enough. You want to protest in the comfort of your living room. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. All it takes for you to also step out, just announce as a citizen that you are going to police, just write to police, that one-man demonstration, you are writing to the police that you want to demonstrate against President Akufo-Addo's appointment of party apparatchiki into the EC. And you see how many of us will come and support you. You just step out. You just need a simple letter. The nearest police station, you write to them, please, one-man demonstration. I intend to demonstrate against President Akufo-Addo. Yeah, I'm thinking about, Oliver Bakavomawo wants to do one on 1st July. I'll call him after and we'll see. But July looks far. Maybe we should do one in the next 3 weeks. Yes, we can do one. Another distance. Because we can't sit down. Look, Ghanaians, we can't continue to sit like this. That's not what Kwame Nkrumah did. If Kwame Nkrumah had been this docile, you wouldn't have had independence.
Okay. Mr. Ablakwa, and a quick one. I need you to just 2 minutes, and I have to go for this quick break. This is what one of the defensive arguments that the NPP has been putting up after this announcement or the president swearing in these 3 persons was done. A quote from Professor Kwame Ahoy's working with Rollins book, I know you've heard this, says, for the position of Deputy Chairman, Operations of the Electoral Commission, David Kanga, Headmaster of Navrongo Secondary School, and a respected opinion leader from the Upper East region, and who had chaired on the sessions of the Regional Fora on Evolving a True Democracy, organized by NCD, was approached to fill the vacancy, and he accepted. And was known, and the NCD, as you do know, was put together by the late Jerry Rawlings. And so the reference is that his open association, that David Kanga's open association with a certain branch, or that's a PNDC, NCD, and eventually the NDC, did not have any material impact on his functions on the Electoral Commission when he was appointed. And reason why they say that David Appiah-Henne's appointment will not impact on the work of the Electoral Commission in any way.
There we go again. Any time that we need to move forward as a country, that we need to condemn what must be condemned, then we are told that there was something close, something that looked like this in the past. I don't know who ever seen that. I've read that book. There is no evidence of active participation. Even if he was in any way associated to the NCD, which is neither NDC nor MPP, should that justify what is happening today? I mean, it should not. It must not legitimize the clear danger that we are putting our democracy in. Because you see, I always talk about precedent. One day, these commissioners will have to retire and go home. If we maintain the status quo, we don't seek reforms, we don't amend our constitution, and we say that we will continue on this path of perdition in the name of equalization, what will happen tomorrow is that an appointing authority will decide that I'm going to make the chairman of my party make an Asiedu Nketia as the Electoral Commission. And who can cry foul? Who then can cry foul? So you see, let's be very, 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 very careful. The kind of precedent that we are setting. Meanwhile, we know that in our Constitution, Article 296 is very clear. Says that where in this Constitution or in any other law, discretionary power is vested in any person or authority, A, that discretionary power shall be deemed to imply a duty to be fair and candid. B, the exercise of the discretionary power shall not be arbitrary, capricious, or biased, either by resentment, prejudice, or personal dislike, and shall be in accordance with due process of law. So, yes, you have the authority to exercise discretion. You are the appointing authority. But you must, in carrying out that mandate, cover yourself in glory, inspire confidence, inspire public trust. Here we are already dealing with a battered institution. Anytime its credibility is assessed, it's in the lowest percentile. The Afrobarometer is a recent example. You do this. Is the president even being fair to the Electoral Commission? If this commission declares your party winners in any election, even if you have won genuinely, and the people decide that they will not trust the declaration, they will have no confidence in the numbers announced and will pour out onto the streets and will create mayhem like we have seen in Kenya over the past few days. Is that what we want? Is that what the president is calling for? But clearly, this is what this really mindless appointment is going to lead to.
Stay with us. This is Key Point. And as all these voices continue to speak and also raise these concerns about the state of affairs, we would expect that we get the right responses as well. Honorable Akwesi Akwa is still with us in studio. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly after this quick break here on Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also live on 3news.com and also DSTV channel 279. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us.
So who will it be? Who will be going to Dubai with me?
Me. Babe, think about all the fun we'll have if you pick me.
I am your father, your school fees payer. You must obey.
But Chaliki, you know stay be bros before all those.
Who would you choose?
Your favorite milk is taking you and a special someone to Dubai in the ideal Sochi Started Dubai promo. Just peel, text, and you could win this and other exciting prizes. This advert is FDA approved.
Nestle, good food, good life.
1xBet, reliable bookmaker with high odds, wide selection on events, and bonuses for every taste. 1xBet, easy use, easy win.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years.
Are you tired of struggling with bad financial situations? At Quick Credit, we understand the difficulties that come with transitioning to a better one. That's why we're here to simplify the process for you. With loan facilities from 1,500 cedis upwards, all you have to do is call and we will take care of the rest. All you need is your national ID. No savings, no collateral, no susu, no deposits, and no account opening required. Quick Credit has you covered. Whether you're expanding a business, starting a new one, facing an emergency like school fees or funeral expenses, or even just in need of a salary loan. What are you waiting for? Call Quick Credit today. 0302 200 390 or 059 692 0833. We do not give loans via the internet. Quick Credit is regulated and licensed by the Bank of Ghana. Terms and conditions apply. Quick Credit. Lending made simple.
From the north, south, east, and west, they came. They showed strength, aggression, wit, and above all, the zeal to come out as leaders of the pack. Kumasi brought the strong. Takoradi paraded their brave. Ho came to the party, and Accra showed their power.
Getting it onto your torso or your toe.
1, 2. And now, the qualified contestants get to compete for a spot at the final showdown of the Ghana's reality show. Come witness pure strength and resilience from the selected contestants as they compete in the final eliminator round. Saturday, the 8th of April, 2023, at exactly 8 a.m. prompt. Venue is at the Achimota Retail Center. Witness the might of Ghana's strongest. Ghana's strongest, the power.
Ghana's strongest is powered by
Deluxy Acrylic Paint.
We are on a mission promoting access to quality health and education through the power of our media space. Since 2014, we have made great impact. TV3 mission now drives Ghana's quest to break barriers and provide access to inclusive and quality girls' education. Together with women's maternal health services, our mission to address the needs of the socially excluded has won the admiration of many. Indeed, TV3 Mission gets you the results. Mission is live on TV3 News 360 every Saturday and Sunday. Supported by Star Ghana Foundation, with thanks to Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office.
Everybody, this is us.
This is us. Yay! We are talented.
We have skill. We are smart.
have brought you the most exciting kids show with so much to learn.
Don't miss out on the latest episodes of the Kids Arena because it promises to be fun, interactive, and educative.
Kids TV has taken a whole new direction and we are excited to be part of it.
Come and join us. Jump around.
Join us today as we take you into a whole new world. Kids Arena, this is us.
In the Kids Arena, yay!
Kids Arena shows Saturdays at 10 a.m. on TV3. Don't miss it.
Between this government's first and second terms, the number of ministers and deputy ministers has been significantly reduced from 126 to 86. This is because we are a listening government. The truth is that this government has managed the economy diligently and well. The hardships we are experiencing in Ghana are being experienced everywhere because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russian-Ukraine war.
Chair of the governing New Patriotic Party, Stephen Ntim, there. This was a press conference that it had two purposes: to respond to the NDC's True State of the Nation that was presented by ex-chair Johnson Asiedu Ketia just about 2 weeks ago. Okay. Is still with us in studios, MP for Chimoda constituency. Also, Professor Francois Jampo is here, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa is here, and lawyer Martin Pebo. Now, what do you say that, Mr. Akwa, the chair's diagnosis of the state of affairs is a fair appreciation of the sentiments and the concerns of the Ghanaian people? What we are faced with now, the current economic quagmire, and how it's impacting on all of us. And we constantly been referred to what was the case maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and ascribing our hardship now to what is happening externally, and less appreciation of what could have been done, what has been done internally, which has contributed to the current hardship that we're faced with. And it is indeed the case that what we are going through now is what is experienced or being experienced all across the world?
Alfred, thank you. Our governments and activists and officials have been the first people to admit that we are in a very abnormal times. Times are not normal. And we have tried to explain it from the point that if you check the economic indices that this country recorded in the first half of this government, everything pointed to the fact that we were on the right track. And so if COVID struck, which was a global phenomenon, the whole world was affected, none could go, none could come. I mean, workers were asked to be at home. That was a phenomenon we haven't experienced before. And I remember the president in one of his States of the Nation address saying that government was tasked to do everything to acquire protective gears and things to make us safe. Then, when COVID struck, we were all looking up to government. Now, after COVID, and perhaps we had come out of the woods, it's as if that nothing had happened. Just as we were trying to regenerate and rejuvenate the economy, then we had Russia, Ukraine. And you see, anytime you mention these two global issues, you sharply get rebuttal from our friends and others who think that, look, I mean, one of the serious jokes is that even places where the bombs were being thrown at have recovered. So why would we say our issues are attributable to Russia and Ukraine? Sometimes some of these rebuttals come to an extent that if you're not careful, you get so confused. Because you know the indices, you know the parameters that we used in measuring how well an economy was doing. And so what happened? I mean, if the whole world is talking about Russia, Ukraine, and COVID, Ghana cannot be an island.
So are you saying that what we are faced with now is solely as a result of the impact of Russia, Ukraine, and COVID?
Yes, because
are you saying that's what has resulted in where we are?
Basically, because the economy had not been on a sound footing.
Are you saying that those are the only two factors that has resulted in this current economic situation?
You see, what we needed during this period is homegrown policies. And just as we were putting ourselves together to be able to be Ghana beyond aid, this phenomenon struck. And you see, like I stated earlier, you have two prominent global citizens attesting to the fact that Ghana is suffering this much because of COVID, Russia, and Ukraine. The Vice President of the United States recently attested to that fact. The IMF chief had said that Ghana was on its right track until COVID and Russia and Ukraine. And that's how come the president stated during his fellow Ghanaian series that we know how to bring back the economy. But for those who are devoured by COVID, we do not know how to bring them back to life. And if our total dependence is on the global economy, and we haven't been able to establish ourselves homegrown policies that will make us self-dependent, I mean, at this point in time, we would definitely depend on some form of interventions that will make us stand on our feet. And so, clearly, if we check where we had come from, and we know that the whole world had suffered this same phenomenon, and what we are experiencing is being experienced worldwide. Labor is agitating in most developed countries that have not seen labor agitations for a very long time. Scarce resources, very, very essential commodities are very scarce to come by. But in the face of all these difficulties, our government is bracing the issues, and we are putting ourselves together. And so, if you have the chairman of a political party, like Johnson Asiedu Nketia, you know, I admire him for one thing. He knows how to excite his base. He knows how to excite the grassroots. I mean, in the past, when he was a general secretary, you could forgive him. But now that he's the chairman of a party, if he goes that way, I mean, the president had come into parliament and had delivered the State of the Nation address, an address that was characterized by the submission of road contracts, roads that have been executed over a period of tenure of office. I mean, a document that had been submitted, that had been tendered in Parliament, a document that had not been challenged by any of our friends on the other side. I mean, pictorial evidence of how much we have spent in the road industry, to an extent that the roads minister could challenge Parliament to even set up a bipartisan committee of a commission to look into the claim that we have done more roads than our friends. So if we were able to move the country to this level, and the president had come to give an address on the state of the nation, and the chairman of the main political party will want to run down whatever the president came to say without preferring any alternative. Or if you called it lies, if you said the president came to lie, what are the truths? What are the truths of the economy?
You see, well, beyond, you see, the concern beyond what you refer to Johnson Kechagua have said on the part of the Ghanaian people is that for how long can you continue to blame COVID-19 and Russia-Ukraine war for the current economic situation we find ourselves in, especially because of the details that we've seen in the Auditor General's report? For instance, as to how much money, and you know this, you've seen that report, is it not? The COVID-19 audit of the Auditor General.
I've seen it.
Government mobilized as much as what? 19.1 billion. Okay? And if you look at the sources, and this is the details of the report, per the report, an amount of approximately 2 billion was mobilized in 2021. So that added on to the 19.1, in total, 21.8 billion was mobilized to mitigate the impact of COVID from the contingency fund, the World Bank Group, the IMF that we are at for this liquidity support, the Africa Development Bank, the European Union, and the sale of Bank of Ghana COVID-19 bonds for the 2020, 2021, and 2022 fiscal years. We actually issued bonds, COVID-19 bonds, to raise money to fight COVID.
Because
see,
we had to pay salaries.
In the midst of it all.
We had to pay salaries.
So, but you know that the report, the Auditor General's report, indicates how much of this money was actually used to, as it were, address direct COVID-19 related issues. So, if that's the case, if this much money came in, and the Auditor General's report has pointed out some of these infractions and irregularities, would we be fair to the Ghanaian people in continuously blaming COVID for where we are?
Because you see, when COVID struck, our revenue targets were not met. We had to continuously pay public sector workers. We had to deploy a program to ensure that private business people through Ghana Enterprise Agencies were given some support.
No. That support actually went to entrepreneurs, and even that, questions were raised about how the disbursement was done and the beneficiaries of those interventions. I think we'll have to just make those distinctions clear. Private sector was heavily hit by COVID.
Yes.
There was no significant support from government on that, to private sector. I think there's evidence to that effect.
That private sector wasn't supported.
What specific support did government give to the private sector?
Well, I don't have it at hand now, but I know the private sector were supported.
In what form?
In form of tax rebates.
Tax rebates?
Yes.
To private sector?
Yes, I can give you that proof. And the fact that if you say entrepreneurs benefited from this GEA support, I mean, these entrepreneurs are basically in the private sector. You understand? So if I talk about it, what I mean is generally, I mean, government thought about people who are, just as government was making salaries available to public sector workers, teachers and all that, they also thought about the private sector people, the entrepreneurs. You know, so we had not generated enough because of COVID. Productivity was done low, but we still needed to keep to our responsibilities. I mean, after COVID, the kind of hardships that other countries have gone through cannot be likened to what we are going through, because government is still responsible to make sure that we have power, to make sure that education continues. At that time, our brothers said that we shouldn't allow kids to go to school. We had to provide protective gears, nose masks, sanitizers, and all that to make it possible for our kids to be back in school. These are expenditure items. These are expenses that had been made within the period of COVID. And the economy had been sustained up to this point where we think that we need some support to shore up the economy and to make us self-reliant. And we know how we have come from the first half of our government running the economy till now, when COVID and Russia-Ukraine sent us back. And so if we're able to mobilize ourselves and we have this kind of support that we're looking for, Ghanaians will be better off.
Zablakwa, this is the position of the NPP, that's the chair, to your true State of the Nation address that your chair gave, that it's not a reflection of the reality of the situation on the ground. That's what he says.
I will start on a lighter note. I note that the MPP chairman in team came all guns blazing, seeking to denigrate the NDC. I note paragraph 21 of his statement. He stated, quote, as it turned out, the NDC as a party are not just incompetent managers of Ghana's economy, but also incompetent researchers. After making this statement, you have seen the reaction from social media. The podium he was using to address this press briefing, you saw the spelling of headquarters. They couldn't even spell headquarters. They were out to declare the NDC as incompetent researchers, that we can't even research.
Oh, but if you misspelled headquarters, I mean, it clearly tells you that...
He said it was on a lighter note.
One will have thought that if you are going all out, you know, against your opponent, to accuse them of being incompetent researchers, at least the spelling of MPP headquarters, you get it right. But as I said, it's on a lighter note, and it's just some of the way God works, that probably we should be kinder to our opponents in our body politic. Let's be honest. My good brother and honorable colleague from the House of Parliament, you and I are in Parliament, and we all know that way before COVID-19 struck, and way before Vladimir Putin decided to invade Ukraine, we in the opposition have raised serious concerns about the trajectory of this economy. The signs were very, very clear that we were not on the right path, and this economy was going to crash. If you look at the indicators before COVID-19, public debt was ballooning. You came to meet the public debt at 120 billion by the time you took over January 7, 2017. By 2019, end of 2019, the public debt had hit 225 billion Ghana cedis. That is a fact. Indeed, that represented a jump. If you do the debt to GDP ratio, it represented a jump from 56% in 2016 to the dreaded 70% in 2019. You take the debt servicing amount. The debt servicing amount increased from 11 billion before COVID, that's in 2016, to a whopping 37 billion in 2019. These are numbers from your own budget. And this constituted 91% of tax revenue. So you had borrowed, and as Martin Pebu has constantly reminded us, you positioned yourself in a conflict of interest situation where all the borrowing, the bonds, and the analysis has been done. President Kufuor, who was the first to go to the capital market, the Eurobond market, did not abuse it the way the Akufo-Addo Bawumia Ofori-Atta triangle has abused it. President Mahama did not. Indeed, if you compare, you have done 3 times what President Mahama assessed from the Eurobond market. And because you were benefiting, direct conflict of interest, you would not listen to anybody. You were on a debt binge. And as we will have it, 91% of our tax revenue, total tax revenue, by 2019 was being spent on debt servicing.
2019?
By 2019.
You are quoting from which document?
From the budget. Check the 2020 budget.
Which page on
the 2020 budget. All of these are from the appendices of the 2020 budget.
Okay.
And you see, it is important to emphasize that this point I'm making, and viewers can Google, the World Bank Country Director, Mr. Pierre Laporte, stated it emphatically. He said that Ghana's economy showed signs of serious challenges even before COVID-19 struck.
Yeah.
Unquote.
It's true.
Pierre Laporte.
Yeah.
So, yes, we are not saying that COVID should be ignored totally in the equation. We are not saying that Putin's aggression in Ukraine should be totally discounted. But the weight, I'm glad the professor is here, the weight, do you totally blame these exogenous factors and leave out the recklessness of the key actors? Because you look around you, Ghana is the only country doing a domestic debt restructuring program. We are the only country doing a domestic debt restructuring program. Our arrival at the IMF is in a worse state. We have gone there as a vegetable. Comatose. Because of the gross mismanagement of this economy. I mean, were we not in this country when I was consistently drawing attention to the president's cyberitic, profligate, oligarchic, chartered jet travels? Were we not in this country? 20,000 euros an hour. When the presidential jet is in pristine condition. When I asked an urgent question of the defense minister, he came to Parliament and said, oh, the president can't even shower in the presidential jet, you know, so it's not really fit for purpose and all of that. They sought to justify it. Now when we are broke, all the last 3 trackings I have done, he is back to the presidential jet. This jet that we were told cannot do long haul, can't take the president directly to America, directly to Europe. All of a sudden, it is doing these flights.
He flew on the presidential jet to...
Yes, I can confirm to you that all of the president's last trips from our unimpeachable tracking to Europe, he used the presidential jet. To New York, the recent one, indeed, he landed in New Jersey when we tracked. He used the presidential jet. He did a brief refueling stop in Santa Maria and then continued to New Jersey when we did the tracking. So all of that propaganda has collapsed. They were not listening. They were not listening. Look, even the financial sector cleanup, didn't you hear many experts, many analysts say that, look, you have chosen the most reckless path. Why don't you, instead of collapsing this, it's a 3 billion CD problem. Why do you want to spend over 25 billion? You have opted for the nuclear option. They wouldn't listen. They would not listen. Another pet subject of mine, I'll be remiss if I don't talk about it. National Cathedral.
Yes, God bless you.
National Cathedral.
God bless you.
A project which is now estimated that it will cost the Ghanaian taxpayer more than $1 billion. Can you believe that?
The earlier estimate was about $400 billion.
It started at
400 million.
Remember, it started at
$400
$100 million, went to 150, 250, 350, $400
million.
The analysis we have done.
Oh, so that's your own analysis.
Yes,
the 1 billion.
Yeah, the 1 billion. And yes, because
we can't.
No. It's important. It's important.
Let's improve.
It's important.
So why do you put the estimated completion cost to $1 billion?
The $400 million, if you read the agreement which we have cited, is only for the shell. It does not include the fittings. And you are talking about a museum, a cathedral to attract tourists. You certainly will have to go and buy all of these fittings. It is clear in the agreement that this $400 million is just for the shell and the designer, who, by the way, has received more than, market rate, inflationary pricing, incredible inflationary pricing. So you need to add the fittings, the artifacts, all those things they want to go and buy in Israel and all of that. You need to add it. Then remember that there have been massive demolitions as a result of this National Cathedral.
I know there are some.
The Malian ambassador, we owe him a replacement. We have only recently bought him land at Airport Residential. He's waiting for the building of his residence, which we demolish. You have to add that to the cost. Then Scholarship Secretariat, we demolished it. We have to replace it someday. You have to add it to the cost. Passport Office, that's when we have already spent 10 million cedis building a new passport office. You have to add it to the cost. Judges' bungalows, he knows, he's an officer of the court, that Superior Court judges, their bungalows were demolished. We had to spend thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in their makeshift accommodation, rental accommodation, whilst we are spending millions to build permanent accommodation for them, for their relocation at cantonments. You have to add that. So by the time you add all of these incidentals, which people, yes, we will have encumbered the Ghanaian taxpayer
calculations
with $1 billion. Then don't forget, I'm not done. Don't forget that there were a number of private property owners who were affected. So I'm referring to COMSIS, the COMSIS IT firm. They are owed compensation. Then there's another company called Waterstone Realty.
Yes. I think they are in court, right?
They are in court. And I have seen the judgment that they are demanding.
So you added that one.
You have to add that. Yes, you must, because President Akufo-Addo is not going to pay from his pocket, or they won't go to the data bank profits they have made from
money
us.
they should be returning.
They will not return it. They won't use it to pay for it. It is the taxpayer. Then don't forget that the Judicial Training Institute was demolished. I have seen the Chief Justice's proposal to a number of banks. You know how much the Chief Justice says he needs to replace the Judicial Training Institute?
How much?
$50 million.
$50 million?
Yes. Because a functioning, nice, beautiful Judicial Training Institute was demolished. I mean, look at this country. Even if we must build a cathedral, first of all, it was never discussed. It didn't come to Parliament for us to debate. We don't know when it became a national project. The President told us it's a personal play to God. At this cost. So, look, many analysts and engineers, we have a lot of these engineers, architects amongst our ranks. Our chief whip is one of them. They even think the $1 billion figure is understated. It's very conservative. By the time you add all these looming judgment debts, these compensation demands, the replacement costs and all of that, we are in excess of $1 billion. So, recklessness. And this was all before COVID. I mean, did Putin tell President Akufo-Addo to go and build a cathedral? Is it COVID that caused all of this profligacy and recklessness? So, look, let's be honest with the Ghanaian people. We expected that Chairman in team will have distanced himself from, after all, after President Akufo, he's become lame duck. He's going. If I was in Chairman in team shoes, and I have this opportunity to, I'll be thinking of the brand of my party. Because what Akufo-Addo has done is to damage the brand of the MPP.
How?
So you are seeing that. So you are seeing that
the brand of MPP.
If you doubt that Akufo-Addo has damaged the brand of the MPP, listen to all those who are aspiring. Listen to all of them. See how they are running away from Akufo-Addo's track record. I have listened to Alan Chermantin. He says, oh, there's a lot of mistakes.
Yes, and it's a kind of thing we have all accepted.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes.
Here.
A lot of mistakes.
That the government and its actors have come to accept.
He has said that he will not be appointing these numbers of people. I've listened to Kwabena Ejepong. Said same. He has said that, look, all these 3 deputy ministers, 4 deputy chief executives are these parastatals and all of that. It's needless. He will not do it. The National Cathedral, I've heard Kwabena Ejepong say that, look, he will not do that as president. He thought that if you make a personal play to God...
In fact, he mentioned it here, yes.
Yes. So all the presidential aspirants are distant. I don't have to mention Kennedy Japan, Joe Gatti, and the rest. They are being very smart. They see that Akufo-Addo has damaged the MPP brand. What Chairman team has done is to take the party inside the stomach, right in the belly. And now it's difficult. Oh, he's made their work difficult.
Who's
Alan, Kabila Japan, Kennedy Japan, all those who were struggling hard to distance themselves. That's why they jumped out quickly. You know,
it wasn't quick enough.
But
the
probably,
ship had already sunk.
The ship had already sunk.
Yeah.
You know, so look, a lot of the things, I don't know if we will be coming to the size of government later.
We'll come to that.
But
we'll come to
you see, the dishonesty. Look, at the time the chairman was addressing this press briefing, school feeding caterers were up in arms in their own stronghold. That is the true state of the Ghanaian
It's not
economy.
the first time school feeding people had demonstrated in Kumasi.
Look, and you watch the video. You watch the video, and you see the exasperation of the Ashanti regional minister. That 97 pesos. I mean, and look, we should all be ashamed as a country. 97 pesos. I mean, even dog food, how much is it? 97 pesos. Food for chicken at home. 97 pesos. And even that you can't pay. That is the true state of our economy. I revealed when the propagandists were out there that, oh, our vaccines have arrived. If you read this address, the president came to parliament and sought to create the impression that childhood vaccines were in short supply globally. He peddled falsehood. It was not true. And that is why...
What was the falsehood about that statement?
Falsehood is that even our neighbors all have excess. And that is why they reach out to Nigeria and Ivory Coast for immediate bailout. So the vaccines that came in were from Nigeria. And I put it out when they were misleading the general public.
That is a normal.
It is not
protocol.
normal.
It is.
When you come, you see,
It is.
you see, when let me tell you why this is not normal. You see, when you tell in this address, you tell the Parliament of Ghana, the Ghanaian people, that there is global shortage, only for us to discover the next day that all our neighbors have excess. And they say, oh, Mr. President, we have heard you. You don't worry. You guys, clearly, you can't help with your mismanagement. We have excess. Come for some. We are ready to bail you out. But you have to borrow. When what you are buying comes in, then you replace. That is the arrangement we have with Nigeria. The Ivorian package will arrive soon. So it is embarrassing. What we see is monumental, abysmal failure. Total misgovernance in every sector. Look, you take agri, take industry, take education, take roads. Let me conclude with the road sector. My brother clearly was not listening to us during the debate. He said President Akufo-Addo brought this document which has not been challenged. I'm surprised. During the debate, we challenged it.
You did?
Yes. We challenged, we impugned. Look.
But the roads minister is also on record to have actually asked that if you wanted the audit the details of the...
If you read page 9 of this report, they give the NDC 2009 to 2016 only 5 interchanges. And then they arrogate all the other interchanges to themselves, including President Kufuor's own. Everybody knows in this country, and he's a member of parliament, if you check parliamentary records, the Pokuasi Interchange Project, President Mahama secured funding. It's an NDC project. Temamoto Way Interchange Phase 1, it's an NDC project. You have stolen it. I can't get any nicer word to use. Obechebi Interchange Phase 1.
And made it better.
You stolen it.
And made it better.
It's Lego Underpass. You stolen it. NDC project. Suhum Interchange, President Kufuor, everybody knows. You can't even leave something small for the old man. Flower Point Interchange. So a lot of the projects here you have arrogated yours. I don't mind. You see, I'm one of those who have said that, look, let us encourage successive governments to complete projects of their predecessors. So that's what the directive principle of state policy. So if you had said beautifully that President Mahama started, secured the funding, and I have come to complete, we even applaud you that you have shown political maturity, you have put the country first. But where you create a clear dichotomy, 2009 to 2016, give NDC a And then you want to give yourself all the projects, including President Kufuor's own. Abba.
You made your
Abba.
Professor Jampo.
The greed is exhibited everywhere.
What should I say? What do you want me to say?
Unless there is nothing.
Well, I don't know what to say. I think the propaganda has been too much.
Propaganda on whose part?
You see, we know what is going on in the country, and there are some of the things that directly impact, on the lives of the people. And so if somebody tells you, if you are hungry and somebody tells you that, no, you are not hungry, I mean, it becomes very painful. One issue that I picked out from the press conference was about the public debt. And I think that whether this regime borrowed more or not has been settled by the government's own statistics that is presented to the IMF. Whether this regime borrowed more or not, it's been settled by the government's own statistics it presented to the IMF. And so I do not see why a national chairman who works nowhere near the finance ministry would be in a press statement or in a press conference be saying things contrary to what the government's own statistics show. It just creates an impression that we must defend at all costs everything. And you see, it makes living in Ghana quite tiring. Okay, I'm tired about these divided opinions about this one said this, this one wants to controvert it, and in that case there should be some slant put on it, propaganda, like Sami just said. The directive principles of state policy enjoins regimes to endeavor to continue programs that have been initiated by predecessors. Okay, we are plagued with the challenge of policy discontinuities. And so for me, if you have a regime initiating a project and then another one comes to continue, what is patriotic and what sounds nationalistic is for you to say that we came and they had initiated this and we came to complete it. Okay, and that would win you applaud, and that would make us see we are developing or shaping up patriotism amongst ourselves and amongst our people. But to completely say that, well, they did something little, and then you pick on the projects that they initiated and then tout them as part of your achievement without at least... I think when the N1 was being commissioned, Professor Mills, I think, invited President Kufuor because of the role that, I mean, that is trying state nation building. That's how it is done.
That's true.
And so I think, you see, so I always ask when these things happen, what do you want me to say? Because I am tired of this partisan view of things. Every now and then we must defend at all costs, we must criticize at all costs. It doesn't help. Let us begin to see the realities. We are talking about how COVID-19, whether it's our challenges have been as a result of COVID-19 and what we've done. Yes, it is true. Honorable Akwa was saying, yes, during COVID-19 time, government was paying salaried workers even though we were home. It is true. Government was paying some bills, water bills and light bills for a certain minute category of Ghanaian citizenry. That was true. It was also true that government did give incentives to some frontline workers, and government also prepared some food for some people who were supposed to be destitute, and who government did that. Government did all these things. But it's also true that we received huge resources to help us in our fight against COVID. It is also true that even up till now, we are still paying COVID levy. Yesterday, I went to Palace Mall to buy a few things and said COVID levy. I said, so when will we be charged? Will we be charged COVID levy in perpetuity? How much have we raised so far? How much? And at what point in time will we say that, okay, we are done with COVID levy? Nobody is answering that. And the most important thing is also, in spite of the good things that the government did during COVID, what is the report? What is the audit report saying? Okay, because that should be our reference point.
The Auditor General's report on the COVID-19 expenditure.
Yes, that should be our reference point. Our reference point for discussion shouldn't be what the NDC is telling us. It shouldn't be what the MPP is telling us. It should be what the state institution mandated to undertake audit into some of these things. What they are telling, it should be, that's what we should be talking about.
In fact, I made reference to that.
Okay, so my point is, we should be tired about these. Somebody said this, somebody said that, and whose record is better, and defending at all costs instead of, you see, we cannot sail ourselves or navigate ourselves through these challenges if we don't bring ourselves together. I'm telling you. And so even if things are not good, and then the government in power, the party whose government is in power will try to whitewash and say that everything is all right. And so we have no, then you continue, you deepen the polarization. But at this particular point in time, we need to reach out to all, to bring all of us together, to rally behind the government, to be able to see whether we can navigate ourselves, you know, from this crisis.
And
otherwise,
that is why it wasn't necessary for
well, the point is this.
Because you see, in politics, if you kept quiet and these things continuously.
No, but you see, why I don't fault Asiedu Nketia for what he did was that, you see, the president blew up an excellent opportunity to reach out to call on all of us to help. When he did the SONA, in the SONA, there were so many things that he said. No, please. In the SONA, there were so many things.
He reached out to Ghanaians.
What did he say specifically?
He has a copy of it, but I know.
No, you see, in the SONA, so honorable, let me finish. See, when you were talking, I wasn't happy with the kinds of things we were saying, but I mean, we have to respect each other and give ourselves the time. But there were so many things that he said that I said, oh, Mr. President, these things, they were not really necessary. I was expecting him in this crisis period was simply for him to tell us that we are in crisis.
He said that.
We can't do it, please. We can't do it all by ourselves.
I think with that,
at this particular time, at this particular point in time, I'm not going to do MPP politics. We don't need NDC politics. I'm calling on all Ghanaians. Let us come together to do this. I mean, that would have been a simple message that would calm down people.
And I'm sorry for the mess.
So,
he has to apologize.
The other bit of blaming our challenges only on external happenings. I mean, it's quite also problematic. It doesn't help us solve or address the problem. Honorable Akwa, it is never true that it is only COVID and Ukraine, Russia alone that have caused this crisis. It is never true. If you do that, then we can't solve the problem or provide a holistic solution to the problem. Definitely, there are things that we didn't do right as a people. And I'm saying that in your bid to rally all Ghanaians together behind you in navigating us through this crisis, the first thing you have to do is that Ghanaians, we ourselves, we did X, Y, Z, which we feel were wrong. We apologize. We have changed course. We are going to do. We are going to do. We are going to do things differently. And because we are going to do these things differently, we call for your, on you for your support. Now, once you do that, then there is no basis for the other people to come in to want to take you to the cleaners, or to want to criticize or subject you to strict proof, because you yourself concede that there are things that you didn't do right. But you see, what is worrying is for us to blame everybody outside Ghana other than ourselves. If you don't take care, what happens is that COVID will go. Russia-Ukraine crisis will go. And the kinds of things we do internally to cause some of these problems will remain. And I don't think that we can build a nation like that. And so a government that blames all others other than itself, I mean, creates a lot of problems for itself.
Professor Ranso Jampo, thank you. But you see, Honorable Kusekwa, do you understand the language of the people? Like when you go into your constituency, what do they tell you? How are your constituents doing?
Alfred, it's not about what they tell me. I feel it.
You feel the hardship?
I've always said this, that anytime the economy is not gelling, you as an MP, you definitely feel.
So why don't you speak to that reality?
Yes, but that is the reality. But we are talking about how we got to this stage.
But you acknowledge that all is not well.
Yes, we do. I have said this, that our government and its actors have been the first people. The president admitted it on 2 occasions with Sona. He had admitted it that times are bad.
But so who
times are bad.
But that
times
one is
are
not an
bad.
admission.
Times are bad, and so we have to rally all of us together. And for him as a president, as the leader of the nation, what he needs to do is to give us hope that at the end of the day, something can be done. We don't have to be throw our hands up in the air and say that, I mean, it's a useless situation. No, because we compare. You see, there's this concept of relativity. We should ask ourselves, if we are saying that Ghana is not doing well, what is the parameters? What are we looking at? If we compare ourselves to most developed nations and what they are going through, we know that if we are able to have this support that we are seeking, we'll get back on track.
But you see, I'll come to you. There's a saying that you cannot compare yourself with dwarfs and always think you are tall.
We're not talking about dwarfs.
There's a reason why we're
not talking about
dwarfs.
We are talking about the European nations that are also suffering. We are, I mean, you have labor agitating in states and nations that have not never happened before. You understand? And we are saying that we are on the right track until COVID and Russia-Ukraine strike.
Okay.
So let's ask ourselves.
You still maintain that it's just COVID and Russia-Ukraine that has brought us to this point. Nothing more, nothing less.
Because we are knitted together. We find ourselves in a global situation.
Okay.
And so at the end of the day, whatever investment we did in our first term of government that gave us correct indices, economic indices, that made everybody saw us to be a shining star. I mean, whatever input we made was actually going to bear fruit in our second term until these economic, global economic issues.
I'm bring you in. I think you still stay on this point, regardless of whatever other counterfacts or the realities that will point to you. You're still stationed on it. So let's move on to the next.
Perfect. So, Mr. Okansi, Honorable Akwa today, you know, the last time he spoke about the Anas matter, he spoke as a statesman. And we all reiterated the fact that we need more analysis in the system to be able to help us fight corruption.